Welcome to Innovation Weekly. I am your host, Dr. John Pauls. Thanks so much for tuning in. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different. Normally, I like to discuss new technology, breaking news and events regarding technology, but this week I am going to be a little bit more reflective, a little bit more probing into our current practices. As always, I encourage a dialogue. So if you're listening, please leave a comment. If you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment. But this week, I really wanted to discuss the term innovation. This channel is obviously called Innovation Weekly. That is a callback to my very first job in educational technology. I was a coordinator for technology innovation in Jacksonville, Florida, and that was my first real exposure into the life of working in technology. And I really didn't know too much when I started working in this space. I was involved in a doctoral program that was instructional design and technology that was kind of still very much lacking in the technology side of things. And so I really started having to learn things on my own. And what I will say is the transformation that has occurred in my life when I started really exploring and using technology, researching technology, advocating for technology, my life is a completely different experience now. I have fully leaned into innovation, constantly thinking about different ways of doing things, of improving our world, of trying new things, failing at new things. If you've known me for any amount of time, you know that I like to try everything because I think our goal in life is to learn and grow and explore and innovate. Yeah, I think our very job on this planet is to innovate, to create a better society, a better world. And I don't know how we're doing at that, but I know that innovation is something that we all like to spout out at the mouth all the time. We're innovating, we're innovating, we're innovating. But are we innovating? Are we innovating? So if we look at the definition of innovation, it is the act or process of innovating, the introduction of something new, a new idea, method, or device. And that kind of goes along with how I view the term innovation. When I think of innovation, I think of the future. I think of new ideas, new thoughts, new processes. I think about pushing the boundaries of what we know into the unknown. When I think of so many of the world's problems, I think about how proper innovation could play a role in eliminating those problems. Innovation is something that is not happened upon by circumstance usually. It is something you have to actively pursue. On a personal note, I grew up with my grandmother in my grandmother's house until I was, maybe 10. And she's still alive and with us and living in Michigan in that very same house that I grew up in. She's 89 years old. And since I have left her house, must have been at least 25 years ago, the house has not changed whatsoever. My grandmother does not have internet. My grandmother has a smartphone only because that's what was provided, and she doesn't use it for smart purposes. It's just another phone for her. And my grandmother is a very special woman. She's a very unique woman. She has lived experiences and stories that I wish I knew more of, but she's also very content in living a non-technological life. She's very content with her life the way it is, I would say. And part of me, I'm happy for that contentment, but also part of me realizes how her inability to sort of move with the times, to innovate, to change, to embrace some of these new technologies, new features, just to be open to those ideas, she has missed out on a lot. I live on the other side of the country from her, and so I don't ever get to see her. I call her weekly and we talk, but it's very difficult because I work in technology. And so in my mind, I'm like, if you had internet and you had a computer, I'd be able to, show you videos. Or if you knew how to access like the downloads, I could send you stuff so you could see. And if you could FaceTime, then you would have been able to see me graduate. And I don't fault her for any of that. I don't. But technology could have made her life a little bit less lonely. And I think she had a fear of using it, a fear of I won't be able to use this appropriately. And I think that is a valid fear for a lot of people, but we have to move beyond that, because if you're not using the technology, embracing the technology, working with the technology, or preparing your students to use the technology, we're creating a gap between or among society members. And eventually that gap will be replaced with a different sort of gap. But I think we miss out on a lot when we don't intentionally try to innovate in our lives, to try to leverage our current resources in the world to better society and better our own experiences. I will admit to another failing of mine, and this is one that in hindsight, I was like, I should have known better. I should have known better. When I was in the K through 12 space, I worked on inclusivity in the classroom, developing programs and grants, and really teaching teachers how to leverage technology to change their students' lives. How can you use things like Microsoft Translator to break down communication barriers? How can you use Microsoft Immersive Reader to provide picture visual supports to students who may have a difficult time learning or reading? So many different things that I've talked about. And I remember a couple semesters ago when I was teaching at the university level, and mind you, when you teach at the university, it is very different than K through 12. Most of my students never talk to me. Trying to get people to engage no matter what I try and how many tools that I use. It's just a different world. And so in my experience, it was very hard to get to know my students because there was no opening up, especially when you only saw them once a week for 50 minutes. It was hard. And I remember towards the end of the semester, I was pacing around the room with my students, and I was just checking in behind them on their computers, seeing what they were doing. I was teaching computer science, ironically, at the time. And I saw a student who was using a translator in the back to translate instructions. And I felt immense shame, and that I should have been more aware as an educator, as a teacher, and as somebody who works in technology. I should have been more intentional in my advocacy for technology, for inclusion, and for access in my classrooms. And I wasn't. I teach what I'm told to teach, and I don't veer away from the curriculum, and that's our world we live in. And so I'm pointing that out because even I get it wrong sometimes, but that moment, I can assure you, has made me much more cognizant of being forward reaching when it comes to my support and my innovation in my classroom and my practices. I am speaking out more about what can be done. I'm trying to educate everyone so that if everyone understands the power of technology, if everyone understands what is possible with students, with themselves, with their productivity, then we're all moving the needle collectively as a society towards more inclusion, more accessibility, and more meaningful instructional and non-instructional experiences. So back to the original question, innovation and what it means and where we currently are, especially in education. When I think about my education growing up, I graduated high school in 2006. So that'll give you a frame of reference into when I went in the public school system. I was fortunate to attend school in not only Michigan for K through 5th grade, and then Tennessee 6th through 12th. And so I had very different experiences, but they were overwhelmingly positive in both of those states. And when I think about my education, what we did in class, how education was facilitated when I was in school, we had a lot of hands-on experiences, a lot of projects, a lot of just fun memories that really make me remember my time in school very fondly. And I think the thing that made me the most sad as a teacher is realizing that that experience may not be universal for our students anymore. I remember having to take some standardized tests in school, but they never really stressed me out that much, not to the level it does for our students today. When I was in school, we were writing with pencils and papers. I did have a typing class, a computer class back in the day. That was really when I used computers. We had AR tests as well, but most of it was writing. A lot of it was rote and drill and all of these things that are now villainized today. But for my brain and for my experience, it worked well. For others, I understand it didn't. But what was present in school when I was there was this idea of let's try new things. Let's really think outside of the box and do whatever we wanted to do to make sure that learning was happening. And we have so lost that. You cannot innovate in school if everything that you're doing in school is already predetermined by administration or district leadership or the state or the country. Like, that's not innovation. That's just doing what we're told and adhering to guidelines that were set in the past. Do we have the flexibility to really innovate and think outside of the box anymore? I remember when I was in the classroom, it was very prescribed in the K through 12 space. You teach, ELA for this amount of time, and you're doing these centers, and you're doing this, and this. And I just remember thinking, my goodness, where did the fun and the innovation go with students? And I know that this is not a new dialogue, a new conversation, but my point is that maybe our systems are designed to sort of, prevent that innovation. Because when I think about an innovative classroom, I picture going into a classroom with flexible seating. I think about students who are able to determine their own plan for learning and growth over the course of the semester. I think about the non-existence of grades. I think about setting goals with individual students and individualizing the learning based on their needs, based on where they want to go in their life. I envision flexibility and autonomy when it comes to how students learn. I envision teachers with less on their plates with administrative work and more time to create really memorable learning experiences for their students. I picture schools and classrooms and systems where success is not measured by a percentage or a grade, but on happiness and safety and innovation and passion for education, for community service, for changing the world. I envision a school system that for some, if academics is not your strongest, but you are really interested in the trades, that supports you in that. I see an educational system that does not provide money to predatory agencies that create these tests that we have to pay for to get the data that we have to subscribe to. It is just very convoluted. And I just really believe the more regulations and the more parameters we put on something, the less able it is to be innovative. It's kind of like the opposite. So we really need to break free. I still work with teachers and faculty around the country. Some of them are doing absolutely amazing things with their students. We're talking about teaching chemistry and using Minecraft, or teaching about social justice, community involvement projects, really things that are going to change their communities. These teachers are ones who are using technology to leverage communication and interaction and innovation. They are preparing their students for a world outside of the four walls of their classrooms. They are innovating. When you look at some of these teachers, they are the outlier. They are ones who are not willing to say, I can't, but are willing to say, let's try. Those are the teachers who are always learning. I am the first one to tell you that, I don't know everything. There's so much in this world that I do not know. But the more I realize I don't know, the more I realize I want to go out and learn. And so then the more that I learn, the more questions that pop up in my mind about what's going on in our world and society. The current AI debate in schools, it is driving me mad. It is driving me mad. Using AI in classrooms, that would be innovation right now. That is something new. That is something unknown. That is something that needs research and needs to be explored. That is innovation. Using a PowerPoint or using Kahoot or using Nearpod or some of these other tools at 2023, is that really innovation at this point? Because to me, that's just making learning engaging with technologies we've had for a while. And so when you think about, we have some teachers who are unaware of those tools, how are they going to be aware of AI? Innovation is no longer using technology in the classroom to conduct the normal procedures. Innovation is using technology in the classroom to disrupt those procedures, to find something new that works. Because I just can't help but wonder, and I know this for a personal fact, and I've seen some research on it, your students are so aware of technology, even in elementary, middle school, high school, they know what's out there. They're on TikTok, they're on YouTube. They are looking at how to leverage technology because they live in that space. They always have. And so I am already very much aware that there are students out there in higher education, high school, who are using AI technology to cheat, to plagiarize. Maybe they're using it to support. There are teachers out there who think that a built-in AI detector is somehow going to really validate that somebody used AI, which, by the way, it does not. It does not. These companies will like you to think that you used AI. It flagged you as AI use. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. You need to research. And it is a huge mistake, including that in these platforms right now, because it is going to lead to students being disenfranchised. It is going to lead to teachers' mistrust of students using a tool that is not reliable. So I try to spout that from the rooftops. Do not rely on those metrics. You cannot rely on those right now. But anyway, there are students who are using AI. There are teachers who are unaware of AI. Meanwhile, the workforce is saying, we'll pay you $300,000 to be an AI prompt generator person. Yeah, that's a real thing that I saw on LinkedIn. $300,000 to be somebody who can go and write prompts for AI. And that is absolutely maddening to me. And that speaks to the state of society that we're living in. I was really interested, a month or so ago when Congress was having hearings about TikTok, and I've got my own thoughts on that situation. But it just struck me that we have all these people in Congress who, most of them have never even used TikTok as a technology. Most of them are unaware that the same things that TikTok was doing, that Facebook is doing, that Meta's doing. And so, we have these people making decisions who are just as naive about the technology that they're deciding upon as you could be. That happens in our school systems. We have people who are dictating curriculum and instructional methods who have never been in the classroom. And so the only way that I can see out of this scenario is to continue to learn on your own, to continue to advance your own knowledge, because it won't be told to you. If I did not go out every single day and research AI and look at what was going on, I would not know these things because it's not on the news, or maybe we're not watching the news, or we're not watching the news that's talking about it. And so if you can live in peace and not be aware of what's going on, but then we're putting ourselves in the same trap that my grandma was in, where one side of society is advancing and growing at an exponential rate, and another side of society is staying stuck in the past. And that is going to further create issues in instruction and teaching and learning and engaging in society around us. This kind of technology innovation, it's not something that we can just tiptoe into. We have to go full force in there. We have got to just trudge along and work together as a collective society to make the best decisions, to make the best informed practices, and to really embrace the new technology. Otherwise, we are just going to be stuck in a world that is dying because of climate change. We are going to be stuck in a world that doesn't provide equitable access to opportunities to all citizens. We're going to be stuck in a world where you can go to an office for 8 hours a day, drive to the office 8 hours a day, use gas, pollute the environment, use resources of your workspace location to sit and have a meeting that could have been virtual. You'll spend time and money and resources on processes and practices that you could have taken 10 minutes to learn how to do yourself. It is very, very, it's a wild feeling. Does anybody else feel that? It's a wild feeling. So if you still made it this far, you know my feelings on innovation. You know my concerns about needing innovation, true innovation in our society and our practices. We can't get it in our society if we don't embed it in our school system. Everything that we do as a society has to start with the school system, because that is where we teach future generations. So it is our goal as teachers, as citizens, to really, one, maintain our own understanding and knowledge base. You're doing that right now by listening to this podcast. You can also do that. You can subscribe to Dr. John Paul's on YouTube. On Twitter, I post out things, and not even just me. There is a whole community of people who are sharing their knowledge out there. So start exposing yourself to that knowledge. Start opening yourself up to new ideas. Start pushing all the buttons, see what can be done, challenge the norm, because when you grow and you share your knowledge with others, they will grow and will be able to tackle true innovation, will be able to make informed decisions about technology that is coming. And I think society overall will benefit. We literally do have the means to currently solve a lot of our problems. We just need to educate ourselves and work together. So if you are a teacher or you're in the educational space, I encourage you to be a part of the conversation regarding artificial intelligence in education. I have several videos on my YouTube channels that talks about what is currently possible with artificial intelligence, what is coming. Those videos will probably be out of date in the near future because it is moving so quickly. So also stay informed. Check out Twitter. It's not the best place to hang out right now, but it seems to be generating a lot of conversation from researchers. YouTube has a wealth of videos from researchers from OpenAI, from Microsoft, from different institutions that are very well known and reputable, that you can watch their lectures and listen to their research. So stay informed. It's not behind a paywall. You just have to search for it. Also, make sure to be an advocate if you feel like being an advocate. Discuss how you're using this technology in your personal, professional life. Share with others and try and help inform those around you of what's going on in the world. I've had several people reach out to me and say that after listening to the podcast or watching my YouTube videos that they are learning more about artificial intelligence and they are having some informed opinions about it, and they want to continue to learn more as well because they know that artificial intelligence is not going to go away. There's no way to turn it off. Their only option truly is to adapt and to monitor and to stay informed. And that's my thoughts on innovation. It's been on my mind a lot lately, and with everything going on with artificial intelligence and the changes in the world, I wanted to revisit where we stood with innovation. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and reflection. I enjoyed having you, but this only works if we have a dialogue and we discuss these things. This is how we will progress as a society. And I hope that nobody thinks that I am upset or angry or anything. I just am so passionate about equitable teaching and learning opportunities and what innovation could bring to society as a whole that sometimes I get a little too excited. And so I myself usually find myself in my line of work as bridging the gap between people who are very well versed in technology and using it to do amazing things, and then people who need support in the utilization of technology to do amazing things. And so being that middle person is very, very rewarding, but sometimes you just want to be like, let's go, Jetsons me, come on, me George Jetson. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment below, connect on Twitter or TikTok at Dr. John Pauls, wherever you feel comfortable. And until next time, have fun innovating, go change the world. See you later. Bye.